Area Planning Association and on my own. And what I found is that Oregon has this larger-than-life reputation, a reputation for livability, scenic grandeur, and for being weird, it's not just Portland, and for being a living laboratory for so many things. And I'm honored to have the opportunity to tell you a story about one of our great experiments, a story complete with history, drama, challenges, and a happy ending, but unfortunately, no sex. So let's go back in time, as far as we know. And you can see that it's way back Wednesday. And we're going to go back beyond the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. Let's just keep on going to the first part of our story, to a paradise on Earth, a new territory somewhere north of California, the land on the other side of the rainbow. It was billed as the Promised Land, capturing the attention of our young nation. And so to Oregon they came, traveling incredible distances and enduring unimaginable hardships in search of opportunity and a new life. Some came for fortune, for the gold to be found in the West. Some came for their fortune in timber, a limitless resource with some of the largest trees on Earth. And some came for their fortune, or at least a living, from the resources of the land, blessed by temperate climate, rich soils, and abundant rain. And others came for a new start, for a future, creating new communities in this land of opportunity called Oregon. But human beings, being, well, human, we tend to take advantage of a good thing. And all too often we tend to think in terms of, well, if something's good, more is better. We loved Oregon, and sometimes to a fault. We loved our beaches, and everyone wanted to own a piece. We loved our rivers and our waterways, and not always because of their beauty, because the solution to pollution is dilution, and our solution began to show a bit of a downside. We loved our trees and our rich farmlands, the source of building materials, our food, our incomes, and we were selling these products all around the world, but if some was good, then more must be better, and the cost of our practices began to take a toll on our quality of life. Now, humans are mobile, and we needed to get around. We needed to get around in a hurry. We had lots of nice flat land that was well suited for roadways, and where there were roadways, there were crossroads, and where there were crossroads, there was development. And if some was good, then more must be better, and growth begat still more growth. Forests were being scraped, our farmlands were being paved over and developed, and Oregon began having some of the same problems that other parts of the country were having as a result of unchecked growth. But Oregon being Oregon, we had those who saw the implications of our manifest destiny early on. Our legislature gave cities and counties the authority to regulate land use so they could begin getting a handle on growth before it got too much of a handle on them. People began to be concerned about the cost of growth and the cost of Oregon's entrepreneurial ways. If some was good, then more was better. It was working for some folks, but it wasn't working for all folks. And people began to think about their future, holding a seminal conference in 1967 regarding Oregon's future in land use. Now, change was in the air, and not that hokey-changey thing we've become accustomed to, but real change. And to help get a handle on growth and to fight the increasing cost of farmland, the loss of farmland to urban sprawl, the legislature adopted Senate Bill 10, a major piece of land use legislation that requires cities and counties to develop plans and zoning addressing 10 broad goals. Senate Bill 10 was difficult to carry out for a number of reasons. It didn't have any real teeth. It was sort of like hoping for change, a great start, but we needed to figure out how to get change to the finish line. Well, change was everywhere in the late 60s and early 70s, and these were interesting times for music, for culture, and these were visionary times, from Kennedy's New Frontier and the promise of a man on the moon to Johnson's Great Society and war on poverty, civil rights legislation, and an increasing national awareness of our planet and its limits. These are also frightening times, from war and violence in the jungles of Vietnam to the college campuses of America's homeland and heartland. These were trying political times, locally, nationally, and all over the world. But here in Oregon, we were again seizing change and ahead of the times in our living laboratory. Our beach bill became the model for the nation, making the beaches a place for all the people, not just a privileged few. We also passed the landmark bottle bill, helping to ensure a cleaner Oregon, providing a financial incentive for doing so. And Oregon was also looking ahead in the area of land use as well, commissioning a major study by architect Lawrence Halloran to imagine the future land use in the Willamette Valley and the implications of different growth scenarios. The The study envisioned a built-out and paved-over Willamette Valley, a continuous megalopolis of development from Portland to Eugene, destroying one of the agricultural breadbaskets of America. And the study got people thinking, got people talking, and then somebody flipped the switch on the issue of land use. Enter once again Governor Tom McCall, a charismatic, moderate Republican. I know it sounds like an oxymoron these days, kind of like jumbo shrimp. But he wasn't afraid to speak his mind. Already well known for his passionate environmental ethic and for being an agent of change in championing tough issues like the beach bill and the bottle bill. Governor McCall seized the momentum generated by the Howard Report and the increasing environmental efforts and activism of the times, and delivered a momentous and fiery speech to the Oregon legislature in January of 1973. And he said, and I quote, "There's a shameless threat to our environment and to the whole quality of life, unfettered despoiling of the land. Sagebrush subdivisions, coastal condominium, and the ravenous rampage of suburbia in the Willamette Valley all threaten to mock Oregon's status as the environmental model for the nation. The interests of Oregon for today and the future must be protected from the grasping wastrels of the land. We must respect another truism, that unlimited and unregulated growth leads inexorably to a lowered quality of life." Well, while that helped rile up the troops, true change doesn't happen by itself. It requires some pretty heavy lifting. Now, a dead ringer for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sorry, Greg. I owe you one. Dairy farmer Hector McPherson was growing increasingly concerned about the threat of urban sprawl and the consumption of Oregon's farmland. A state senator from Lane County, Hector McPherson, and State Senator Ted Halleck championed a new piece of legislation for that stormy session of 1973, legislation aimed at slowing the pace of sprawl. But they couldn't do it alone, and with the help of Nancy Fadley and the always photogenic LB Day, they delivered the goods. Delivering in the face of adversity, like Moses, Senate Bill 100. And actually, this slide came from Ron Ebru, who actually went to Mount Sinai, found Moses, and persuaded him to think correctly. Once again, Oregon was leading the nation with a mandatory statewide planning program aimed at curbing sprawl and protecting our state's livability in the face of rapid growth and the grasping wastrels of the land. Now, Senate Bill 100 not only required comprehensive planning, it created an infrastructure to carry it out, a new decision-making body, the Land Conservation and Development Commission, and a new Department of Land Conservation and Development. And going further than the earlier Senate Bill 10, Senate Bill 100 actually had teeth to help ensure compliance, and it required a widespread public process to help determine the goals to guide future planning. This was a huge deal, uncharted territory. And at the helm of the ship, navigating uncharted waters, was the first director of this new department, Arnold Kogan, who can be seen here rocking a subdued plaid suit. Looking good, Arnold. And in response to the requirements of Senate Bill 100, Mr. Kogan and the young Department of Land Conservation and Development launched a barnstorming tour of Oregon, getting the opinions of thousands of people on their values, what was important to them, and the direction this new program should take to protect the land. Now, the results of this barnstorming tour, the first 14 goals adopted by the new commission in 1974, and then quickly followed by the Willamette River Greenway goal and coastal goals by the end of 1976. This was one hell of a task, but the department and commission couldn't do it alone. They had the help of a whole lot of friends. And you might recognize Henry Richmond, a younger and bearded Dick Benner in the middle, and an even more bearded dude, current Metro Councilor Bob Stacy. That was in the Willamette Week in 1975, I believe, next to the date ads. And of course, there were a few more friends, including Oregon's Ed Sullivan, the Oregon Farm Bureau, and many, many more. Again, this couldn't be done alone. It was definitely a group accomplishment. So you've got the goals, and now you're in the business of working with local governments on the long and bumpy road of developing comprehensive plans and demonstrating compliance with the goals. As the new goals, guidelines,